Welcome to The Margin Line, a dental business show by Dandy. I'm Dr. Barry Bartusiak, your host today. With us today is the builder of a dental empire. Please welcome with me today Dr. Paul Goodman, aka Dr. Nacho. Dr. Nacho, welcome aboard. We're excited to have you today. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. My original dream was to play in the NBA, but that failed. So naming myself after an appetizer is pretty close second. I appreciate saying the Empire. I'm a big movie fan. Empire Strikes Back. But for the Nacho community is more about the Empire Gives Back. So we'll talk about that. But I wanted to create an empire, really a community for dentists where there's so much give back. There's so much opportunity for us to collaborate, share, be our normal selves instead of our weird dentisting selves. We'll talk about that. So really appreciate you having me on.
Well, welcome aboard. We're excited to have you. And let's dive in and start picking at your mega brain, if you will. Take us back to the beginning. Take us back to dental school. Where did all of this genesis start?
I grew up in the 90s in New Jersey. So there was three kind of jobs: dentist, doctor, or lawyer. My dad was a dentist, an amazing dad. Never pressured me to become a dentist. I wanted to be like Tom Cruise from that movie, A Few Good Men, George Clooney from ER, or maybe a dentist. As I was growing up in the practice and deciding on what to do, the only thing my dad really had said was, I really enjoy being my own boss. He was not born with, an endo file in his hand. His parents said dentistry is probably a good career. He did it. He was a very easygoing guy. I always say that he was very serious about helping people, but didn't take himself too seriously. So I think because he came home from work and didn't complain and sort of shared the benefits of dentistry, we also saw the stresses. I did the 7-year dental program at Villanova. I'm a pretty enthusiastic guy that likes to move with momentum. So I said, that'd be great. I'll save a year of college. I'll get to dental school faster. I do want to give a shout out to Villanova and Penn for this. I mean, they say, Barry, that everything in life could have a downside, right? No matter what, there's no free lunch. There's always a downside. Well, I will share with you that the 7-year dental program at Villanova had zero downside. You applied as a high school senior. You got in as a biology major. You had to just, get reasonable scores on your DATs, way less pressure, no interviews. And after your junior year, if you said, I want to go off and run a hedge fund, you say, I want to work for Merck, you just stayed at Villanova for another year and got a biology degree. If not, you went to Penn and they took your credits from your first year of dental school and put it on your Villanova transcript. So it was truly a program with no downside. Really grateful I was part of that. So then I went to dental school at Penn. I love the city. I grew up in the suburbs, but I'm allergic to having a lawn. So I'm here living in a high rise right in Center City, Philadelphia. I love everything cities have to offer, from restaurants to being able to meet people. And that is something that does have pros and cons. There's also some challenges living in a city. But I was at Penn and I never left. I did a GPR program for 3 years at Albert Einstein, where I got to learn to place and restore a lot of dental implants, learned about leadership. One of the things that inspired me to create a community like this was my experience at the hospital. I don't know if you noticed this, Barry, but doctors have a lot more collaboration than dentists. You go in, we have had 2 children. They got a first-year resident, a chief resident, attending. They're all looking at you. You just go for your regular physical. They say, just so you know, 2 medical students are going to stand here. And we go, oh, no problem. That's normal. But your dentist calls in one other dentist or younger dentist while you're getting a filling, and people freak out. So I find that to be a really, really big challenge of our dental profession. Lack of collaboration, lack of learning from each other. So I wanted to create opportunities for people to do that. I did exist before Facebook. I didn't sprout up. I'm a kid of the 80s, Barry. Do you remember the Cabbage Patch Kid?
Of course.
My parents were great parents. They wrestled other parents back in the 80s to get us Cabbage Patch Kids. So I didn't sprout up from Facebook Cabbage Patch land in 2017 and said, I'm here, Dr. Nacho. I had a life before that. So I was running events in Philadelphia. I always was known as someone who would connect dentists for jobs. I would do that with my residents. I would go on this site, Dental Town, which I have a lot of admiration for. I'm not on as much anymore, but Howard Fran, admiration for what he built. I'd go on Dental Town and say, hey, I have residents that need jobs. Does anyone know anyone who needs a job? Just trying to connect them. I didn't get paid for this or anything like that, but I always just wanted to bring dentists together to not dislike each other. What my dad said to me, and he had a partner. My dad did not have a partner in practice. I don't think I ever would have become a dentist. The solo dentist model, it can have tremendous benefit financially. It can have tremendous benefit autonomy-wise, but having a dental practice is like having a 4-year-old child that never grows up. Parts of it are awesome. Parts of it are incredibly aggravating. I have a 4-year-old who lives in my house. When I have my daughter on my shoulders in Philadelphia and I walk by, some nice older couple goes, enjoy that time. Those are the best times of your life. Have you ever seen people do this to parents?
A couple of times, yes.
oh, it goes by so quick. Enjoy it, right? They say this, right?
Right.
So I say, how old are your kids? And they go, 40. I go, oh, if they're 40, do you wish they were 4 again? They go, God, no. I go, that is such a weird way to describe the best time of your life, right? So this is an awesome time, but having a 4-year-old is very challenging. How she feels is how the house feels. Having a dental practice, how your dental practice operates influences your family success, your financial success, your personal stress, opportunities. So really what bothered me that dentists didn't get along. Dental schools run a lot like the dental student Hunger Games. They make dental students compete instead of collaborate. So I created opportunities with study clubs called the Rising Dentist Study Club. I would lecture on implants. I would do anything possible to bring dentists together. And then when Facebook happened in 2017, and a lot of people were posting on Facebook groups, I said, you know what? I have a lot of opinions. A lot of times growing up, my parents would say, you should be a lawyer, Paul, but it didn't sound like a compliment when they said it, right? So I said, I'm going to make my own group. We can talk about implants and practice management. Most good ideas can come from your wife. So I said, what should we call it? I was sitting at the kitchen table and I said, I'm a broker. I'm a speaker. I help sell practices. I love Mexican food. I love nachos. There's a lot of toppings. She said we should call it dental nachos. And then the metaphor, your comparison is, nachos are meant to be shared, but they get messy, right? There's a very famous comedian who said you'd fight your aunt for the last chip on a nacho plate. And that's true. When people are sharing nachos, they're meant to be shared with friends. They can get spicy. So that's the evolution of the dental nachos group. If you get asked a question a lot, you should have a 3-sentence answer, right? Inside or outside of your life. So I get asked, is my dental insurance taken at this office? What does my dental insurance cover? I get to ask this, Barry, at my office and at parties. Some people go, they think we're all know each other. I'm freaking at a party about to get some appetizers and people go, oh, hey, Paul, do you know if MetLife is covered at this dentist in Philadelphia? I go, I don't even know the dentist in Philadelphia. Could you leave me be? So maybe this will help your listeners.
Right.
When someone says, oh, is my dental insurance covered? How does dental insurance work? I say, that's a great question. A lot of people ask me that. Dental insurance is not really insurance. It works more like a coupon. It's 3 sentences, reframed. So people say to me, what's dental nachos? You wear the swag, you get it. They're going to say, what's that dental nachos thing? I say, that's a good question. A lot of people ask me that. Dental nachos is like a Mr. Rogers neighborhood for dentists. They have a hard time being nice to each other. They're really nice to patients. But what we do is strive to help them as people, as business owners, decrease their stress and increase success. So that's my 3 or 4 sentence answer. Highly recommend. You get a lot of questions. Same question, 4-sentence answer. Makes your life easier.
Advice well taken. That's great for our listeners. Well, let me ask you this. Why Facebook? What was that genesis?
This is a true story. I don't know how I met my friends at college on campus. I have no idea. We had no cell phones, right? I think I would show up at the dining hall and go, I hope other people come and sit with me, right? I think before cell phones, we forget how relaxed we were with communication. I was at Villanova. There was a place called the Oreo. It looked like an Oreo cookie. And that was like our meeting place. And someone goes, I'm going to be at the Oreo at noon. If they didn't show up at noon, you just sat there with your book or whatever. Remember, no cell phone. Then we had the BlackBerry. And then we have, the no keyboard phones, which I never thought I would like, but of course I use. And I just think Facebook was a mechanism of communication that dentists were using. So for me, I'm a big fan of this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk. I care about ways to connect with people. It could be through Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, email, text message. But the thing about Facebook is that it creates the opportunity for good conversations around a post. I'm on Instagram as well. It's not as good for conversations. I do consume TikTok. I don't make a lot of TikToks. So I like that Facebook has this community feel. My dental assistant wants a raise. I just gave her a raise. What do you guys do? And then people type in the comments, is she paid up to par in your area? I gave my dental assistant a raise. It was good. I didn't. So it really creates the opportunity. And then it preserves it, Barry. So you can go to a Facebook group. Right now, you can go to Dental Nachos. Started with 1 member, has 44,000 members now. You can type in restrictive covenant for a job. You can type in restrictive covenant. 78 posts will come up that you can read through about restrictive covenants. So 1, it creates a conversation, community feel, and 2, you can search things on it with ease. You cannot do that on other platforms.
Outstanding advice. What challenges do you find by using Facebook?
Anything that's free causes people having challenges. I have a thing, CCAF, can't complain about free. This blows my mind every day, and Gary Vee talks about this. Facebook is free. No one charges us to be on it, right? We're on the same page, no cost, right? Inside of Facebook, there are dental groups. Dental Nachos, Dentistry in General run by my friend, Dentists in the Know. People have created free groups, which I liken to outside my window, Rittenhouse Square Park. You can walk around Rittenhouse Square Park, no charge, right? Drink coffee, meet your friends. They've made this wonderful park for us to enjoy at no cost. So Facebook is free. Dental Nachos is free. But for some reason, our dental people, we're very special. We can complain about this. I don't understand it. It'd be like going to Costco and someone going, oh, would you like some cheddar? And you go, how dare you offer me cheddar? Gouda is my favorite type. It's free. You can't complain about free. So the challenges are keyboard warriors, right? Sebastian Maniscalco is one of my favorite comedians. If you know him, you know he's hilarious. I grew up with him, not grew up with him as a person. In Philly, he would come to small shows. I would see him. He said, the internet has taken people who would usually yell at people from their basement and put them online, right? And this does not mean, a dentist can do this. So there's a lot of times keyboard warrior stuff that is hard to manage. My wife, amazing wife, is a kindergarten teacher. So sometimes I have the kindergarten teacher mentality, like, hey, you don't have to tell someone that was the worst case you've ever seen. You could just keep it in your head, right? So the challenges with Facebook is anything that's free can cause challenges with behavior. If you do charge, one day I might charge and say, hey, to be part of Dental Nachos, it's not on Facebook, it's on my own app, and it's $7 a month. And I would take 44,000 people, and it'd probably go down to 4,400 people, but those people are engaged. I believe Howard Farran is probably incredibly successful financially. If I could go back in time, I would have said, Howard, 2005, start charging $10 a month for this site because it will run off the trolls. So the trolls on Dentaltown made me stop posting, not because my feelings get hurt. I'm a dentist. I don't have feelings. They were ruined in dental school. I just got annoyed, right? I would say, hey, everybody, I place implants as a general dentist, and one thing I do is XYZ, and 4 people from Anonymousville, USA would start hating on the post, and it would just be annoying, right? If you go to a comedy club and people heckle all the time, you don't have to fight with them, you don't have to cry, but you leave. So I believe that's the dynamic, and I like that this community is free. We do have sponsors inside of the community. I share with people. Have you ever gone to a park and they have like a farmer's market, Barry?
Yes.
It's wonderful, right? Bread, pizza,
Right.
muffins, right? At Rittenhouse Square, at the corner is a flower stand, which people line up for blocks to get this stuff, right? Remember, there's no charge for you to go to that flower stand. You can go there and buy flowers or not, right? But dentists, sometimes they get mad. There's sponsors inside of my park. And I go, why are you mad? You just don't have to buy anything, right? They need a whole team of psychologists to study them. If you're mad about a free thing, or you're mad about someone offering to sell you something that you don't have to buy, I recommend you see a special dental therapist and say, why do you feel this way? Because every time I've gone to a convention area, I go, oh, great, maybe this new burr I'll want to use, or I call this SOB, Barry. When you're at a dental convention and they go, oh, hey, Dr. Goodman, I want to share with you about new hand sanitizer. I just go say, no, thanks. And I stroll on by, right? On your phone, you just scroll on by, right? If you see something you don't want to buy. So that's just giving you some context of there's overwhelming good in doing this. People can learn from their phone, meet friends from their phone. They've developed relationships in the group that they then go and meet people in real life. But it comes with the challenge of trying to manage a lot of people in a big park can be tough.
Tell us about some of the success stories that you've noticed with Dental Nachos.
I'm glad to share that. And I want to share, I have Google reviews for my dental practice. And it reminds me that people like me. When you are a dentist, many people will open up that they hate the dentist. Why they say this, I don't know, Barry. When you go somewhere and you want someone to help you, do you open up with, I really hate the accountant and your spreadsheets? You could just keep it in your head. So the successes outweigh the stresses. But what happens is, like a rock in your shoe, you tend to notice the annoyances. But if I tell people to pull back and look at your Google reviews or the stories that you keep, you'll see how you've impacted people as a dentist and as a Dr. Nacho. And I like to save screenshots on my phone of this. So just last night in my Facebook Messenger, I got this. It said, Dr. Nacho, can I just thank you so much for existing? You're helping so many people, and I'm so appreciative. I'm so thankful people like you exist. Sorry that this is kind of weird. I'm writing this like we know each other, but seriously, thank you. You just get it, and I'm so thankful to have found Dental Nachos from a one-year general dentist in Dallas, Texas, right? I will take 72 haterade pieces for this. I'll let people say, Paul, you baby new dentist. Paul, your sponsors try to sell me stuff. It's just white noise to me. for when this stuff happens. So the impact that we've had, now that's the early stage. I always say that dentistry is like a circle of life, like the Lion King, like year 1 to year 30. Then I meet older dentists. And I love this. I'm at a convention, I'm speaking. Someone comes up and goes, "Oh, it's you, Paul. I'm Dr. Guac. I follow the group all the time." In my brain, I'm going, who is this guy? Who is this person? I never see him post. And he goes, "What you're doing, I wish I had this when I was a young dentist. I would have a better career. The fact that you're making people feel safe and secure and you're being real. Being real is not just cake and ice cream. Being real is dental school debt's an issue. Dental insurance is an issue. But how can we talk about it?" And I go, "Dr. Guac, I'm so pleased, but I don't see you post or comment." They go, "Oh God, no, I don't post on Facebook, but I read everything." So those are two dynamics that make me feel I'm doing stuff right. That the younger generation is saying, "I feel less alone because of this." And the older generation saying, "I wish this was here when I was a younger dentist." So, I always say ABC to FLA, always be connecting to feel less alone. People think dentists make money and they don't have problems because they make money. But when you ask them, you go, "Does money solve your problems?" They go, "No, it doesn't solve my problems." I go, "Well, what are some of your problems?" And loneliness in dentistry is a massive problem, even when you're surrounded by people, because your team can be great, but they can't do a filling for you. Your front desk can be awesome with handling money, but they can't see that extra emergency. So dentists can often feel very, very lonely. I'm a big fan of the show Game of Thrones, like kings and queens of their castles. And kings and queens of castles have a lot of power, a lot of autonomy, and a lot of responsibility. And that to me would be two impactful stories.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, Paul.
Yes.
When did this all start to pop?
It's a great question. So I thought there'd be like 1,000 people in the group in 2017, and social media evolves. So, Facebook was the main place dentists were hanging out in 2017. And I believe that, to me, I have a big MBF thing, must be fun. In my dental office, I talk to patients like friends. And, one time an assistant, I had her just brand new assistant. I was like, "Here, watch me talk to this patient." And, someone I did a big implant case on. And at the end, I interviewed her and I said, "What did you see that I do that might be different than other dentists, not better or worse?" She goes, "You talk to people like friends. You make them feel comfortable. You bring the fun." And to me, dental nachos, if your listeners just listen to this one thing, I will help them because someone helped me. Patrick Winston, How to Speak, is one of the best pieces of presentation and communication content I've ever listened to or watched in my life. It has 13 million YouTube views. He's an MIT professor that passed away a few years ago, and he was teaching young college students how to present themselves for a job. And he talks about building a fence around your idea. So Dental Nachos is not the site to go to learn the most about composites. We do that, right? Dental Nachos is not the one to go to who learn mostly about stocks. There's other groups. We're the group to go to try to figure out the missing pieces in your business life, in your clinical life, in your practice management life, and also have fun. We talk about what's your favorite movie, where do you go in Napa Valley if you want to get great wine. So what really took off was when people were posting a lot of pictures of nachos, it's kind of like the golden retriever puppy of appetizers. And I believe that in a life that can be very heavy and a life can be very stressful, it stops the scroll. When people see a picture of nachos back in 2018, they go, "What's that? I like nachos." So we then started growing at, we still have a rate of like 700 to 1,000 new members a month. When I talk to my sponsors and I encourage them to keep sponsoring, just like we encourage our dental patients to keep coming for their cleanings, they go, "Oh, Paul, but I've talked to everyone in the group." I go, "We have 700 new members a month who've never heard of you, never heard of Dandy or another company." So I share that we grow about 10,000 members a year, and we're up to 44,000 members. I enjoy running the fun giant group. That's for me. It's for everybody, not just dentists, not just assistants, not just hygienists, not just people who work with dentists. It's for everybody, like a true nacho plate. And what is really meaningful to me is that the brand has a feeling of connectivity more than clinical dental work. I was at the beach this summer doing my dad coffee thing, and I had my nacho shirt on, and someone goes, "Oh, I know that group. Do you know the nacho guy?" I go, "I am the nacho guy," right? And he goes, "I really like your group." That to me is everything, right? That it's this logo that people go, "I feel like I'm a part of something." I might be a medium part, a big part, a small part, and it just makes them feel more connected with people. and that they can get answers. I like the show Shark Tank, right? I mean, I just enjoy it. I've never been on Shark Tank, but if like I was on Shark Tank and they're like, why should we invest in your company? I'm talking for business people, right? I'm not talking the Mr. Rogers thing that you can explain to anything, but I'm talking about Mr. Wonderful and Mark Cuban. I go, dental nachos is becoming like Google for dentists. Is that interesting to you? Most dentists earn over 6 figures and they're on this place asking questions. Is that interesting for you to be a part of? So it does have a true business component because I believe you need money to help people. And it's part of what I'm doing now more than clinical dentistry. So I want to be clear that even if you want to build homes for people who need homes, you need money for the hammers. So it's important that the community understands that supporting the people who support it is important to me.
So speaking of your sponsors, how do you choose sponsors and how do they get with you, et cetera?
I always give everyone a chance to show their best selves. Listen, there's the Angie's list. I admire that. Whoever Angie is, if she's a person, she says, the best contractor is Bob Smith. The best painter is Sally Painter. I don't love that for my brand. I like to think of it as a big convention online where people could see 3 marketers, 4 technology companies, 2 accountants, right? My team and I interview all the sponsors. We kind of make sure they're not going to be that difficult to deal with. I know this with patients, right? I can talk to a patient in 5 minutes and know if they're going to be difficult. I can talk to a potential sponsor in 10 minutes and know if they're going to be difficult. I say test, not guess. Start at a low plan, do it for, a few months, see how it goes for you. I do want to share this if it's helpful, and it's helpful with patients. It's got to be more than transactional, though. So if a sponsor says, if I sign up, will I get 16 new clients in the next month? I say, I don't know. You got to see. So I say to my sponsors, we have tons of people who will buy your services, but I don't run into the group and say, buy XYZ services, because that dilutes my brand and I don't like to be sold to that way. So if that gives you a little context of that, and they become community members as well.
Dr. Paul, what would you say to a young doctor just getting out of school? What do they do on Monday?
I would say really consider doing a GPR AGD. It's a magical experience to learn in a supportive environment. 2, work on your communication skills as much as your clinical skills. Join virtual Toastmasters, take courses on how to present yourself, learn from podcasts. Nothing happens unless patients will accept your treatment. Paul Homley has a great book on this. Nothing happens until patients say yes. And 3, put your face in as many places as dentists are as possible. If you want to buy a practice one day, if you want to find a good job, go to as much in-person see as possible. Talk to people older than you. Don't care about what the content is. Don't care about if the chicken's not good. Go there and sit there next to dental strangers and say things like, what's it been like to run a practice? Magic will happen with the ABC Always Be Connecting world. So GPR AGD, communication skills, go to as much in-person see as possible. Put your face in places where dentists are. Magic will happen.
That's outstanding advice, and I would wholeheartedly support that. Let me ask you this. What would you say to the 50-plus-year-old doctor to do on Monday? 3 things that are going to make his or her life better.
1, go to as much in-person see as possible, even if you think the topic's boring, because you may need someone to buy your practice one day, and you may need an associate, you may need a team member. So even think you know it all, old dog, new tricks, have seen it all, boring lectures, forget about the topic, forget about the learning. It's the people at the in-person see in your local area. 2, start an Instagram account for your dental practice and post on it once a day and post a story once a day. What is an awesome opportunity for dental practices is to showcase their awesomeness on Instagram. It's free, it's fun, and anyone who wants to work for you will check it out. When a practice does not have an Instagram account, it's a little bit strange. And 3, develop a team of advisors to help you make the next step in your life. I talk about finding a job, buying a practice, hiring an associate, or selling your practice. Too often, dentists mess up big decisions by not being aware and being #dentist cheap. Dental focused attorneys, dental focused accountants, consultants, find people who do this thing every day and hire them to give you advice. One of the biggest problems people make and dentists make is getting advice from people who are emotionally invested in your life and don't know what they're talking about. My aunt told me I shouldn't hire an associate. Oh, your aunt, the school nurse, told you shouldn't hire an associate? My best friend told me practices can't sell for that amount. Your best friend who's a pharmacist at CVS told you this? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Hire a team of advisors, get reviews on them, and start interacting with them before the big life decision.
Quality information from qualified individuals. Yes, outstanding points there. Paul, what would you say are things that you notice with your community and all of this information that dentists mess up on a regular basis?
They mess up their outside the operatory life more than their inside the operatory life. I believe that dentists like predictability, so they keep working on how to make their crowns better, even though they're really good already. So if it was a restaurant, they'd be like, we're going to make our pasta better. I go, but you have 9 out of 10 pasta, but the person who seats the people is very unkind to your guests, and that's why people aren't coming. Your website looks like from when the internet was invented. That's a Sebastian Maniscalco joke. And you are not taking leadership skills for you. So what they mess up is not developing their outside the operatory life. The second thing that they mess up is not developing a team that they grow with. They often are reluctant to give raises to people who deserve it, and also reluctant to remove people who are not a good fit on the team. I've had both of those things happen to me.
In looking at your website and reading about you, you have talked about a dentist shedding some tears.
Yes, crying on the inside. I mean, dentists have to keep their crying on the inside because you always have to pretend things are going well in front of patients. And that's an incredibly stressful way to be. And there's so many things. Dentistry is full contact arts and crafts. Some people who don't want to be there. And I think patients can learn a lot on being a little bit kinder to us and understanding. I think dentists can learn a lot on how to present things to patients in a clear way instead of a confusing way. But doing things in the mouth that people don't want to be there or pay for is crazy stressful. It's the opposite of Hamilton. Have you seen Hamilton? I've seen it 10 times. Everybody goes, they pay, they love it. Being a dentist is like starring in a Broadway show that nobody wants to see or pay for, but you have to do it every day. So when you can reduce crying inside by connecting with sponsors and making your life easier. Dandy is a sponsor of what we do. That makes people's lives easier. By connecting with a team management consultant, with working on your business, not just in your business, from the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. So reducing crying inside is being purposeful and creating a treatment plan for your success. Dentists don't do enough of that, and the morale of the person holding the drill should matter just as much as everybody else in the office.
And now we're going to go to our really heavy-hitting segment here. So sort of like 60 minutes, Mike Wallace kind of a deal. So buckle your chin strap. Here we go. So it's sort of like a this or that, Paul. Ready? I already know the first answer. Dog or cat?
Dog. We have my Tilly's in the background providing suction noise for this podcast.
Implant or bridge?
Implants for sure.
Italian food or Asian food?
I will go with Italian, but I love them both. It's a close tie.
Baseball or football?
Football for the fun of watching it.
Captain America or Batman?
Batman for me.
New York style pizza or Chicago style pizza?
New York style.
Endo or extraction?
Extractions for me.
Tesla or Harley?
Tesla for me. I'm not the most adventurous person.
Stocks or crypto?
Stocks for me for sure.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix still is a core one.
And lastly, beer or wine?
I'm going to go with beer. I like all the creativity with beer, but I embrace both from time to time.
How can people get a hold of you? How can we reach out to you?
So I've created dentalnachos.com as like an ESPN website. We have stuff on practice transitions, CE courses. So really dentalnachos.com or dentistjobconnect.com are the two ways.
Well, thank you so very, very much.
Barry, you were a great guy to talk to. Really enjoyed it. And thanks to Dandy and you for having me on it. I love sharing experiences like this.
Absolutely my pleasure. And thank you so much for being such a great part of our profession.
My pleasure.